Okay, I've had to re-record this like 50,000 times, and this is going to be the last time I record this. So we're going to do a hair rigging tutorial. I will show you real quick what the hairs look like. The one that I'm going to be doing, I'm not going to be doing this one because it takes too long, but it's the same like basic idea of how I rig the long blonde one. So let me hide this one real quick, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the end result. This is what it looks like. This is the Y movement. It's all of it together. This is what your end result is going to be. Of course, you're probably going to have longer hair that actually attaches to the head. So just keep that in mind. These are just pieces of the hair. So whatever like extra little bits that you have, you're gonna have to figure out. I cannot like hold your hand through the whole process just because mine will be different. And let me show you how this one ended up looking like. Using the same methods, it's just cut up into two parts instead. And this one also has X and Y movement associated to show you that doing lots of cuts in your model, your PSD, will result in a better looking hair movement for things that have more depth. So you can see here, I kind of didn't paint it right. You can see here, like the underside of the hair will be showing when you go down. So just start making your models more complicated if you can. Again, for the third time today, you will not be able to do this method with the free version, I don't believe, unless your entire model is a single piece of hair, just because of how many parameters it takes. You can see here, just this curl takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 sets of parameters. 6 realistically, but 7. There were 7 there, right? So we're gonna do this first. As you can see, the basic methodology of it is that you are going to be sectioning off the hair into pieces and rigging them based on that. So this first one, I rigged this half of the hair, this bottom half closest to the top or wherever you want the hair to start moving. The second piece I rigged starting at the middle, and the last piece I rigged at the tip. So I will walk you through rigging this together. What we're going to do first is take all these deformers and delete them because I never pre-prepare and I always have to delete everything when I'm recording. So I'm going to name this hair 1.1 XY. You do not have to have two separate deformers for X and Y. You can just use one deformer. The parameters that you're going to need are going to be as follows: hair 1.1x, hair 1.1y. You can name this anything you want as long as you know to link which ones to which parameters, right? So hair 1.1 will be x and y linked together, and you're going to have 3 sets of this. You could have as many sets of this as you want, depending on what length of your hair that you're doing, how many times you want to section them out. Like, that's to your discretion. I'm just going to do 3. It looks natural for the length of hair that I have, and you can honestly get away with just doing like 2 if you want, or just even 1 if you animate it enough, or you don't want that much movement, or you have really short hair. 1 will just be enough too. I'm just doing this for longer hair because I never really have a chance to do long hair because my model has short hair. But I actually think I did like 2 each strand for my model. So what you're gonna do is do the X first. Do not link them together and then assign keyframes, because every single keyframe that you just assigned will be at the default position. You want to kind of make it a habit to just do these one at a time, because when you're doing angles, they will be at the default position, and when you have to do the corners, the synthesized corners will not save you. So yeah. I might be wrong about that. I don't remember, but I always just make a habit to just do it one at a time so I'm not confused. We're going to do this part first. You could do this any way you want. You could even do it with the path deformer if you want. but I do not like doing path deformer just because it warps it too much. So what I'm gonna do first is kind of like highlight this whole first part with a big old brush and turn it just so I could do less work for myself, and then start using the warp deformer brush and then moving it to the side, moving it to the right. So we have our first like deformed hair, and then I'm also going to hide this because I don't know why it's there. What you want to do when you deform hair is kind of like give it some character, especially because with keyforms, think about it like this. From 0 to 1, that will be the last image that you see before it defaults back to 0, before it defaults back to its like normal state, right? So you want this to be like the lasting impression. So I'm going to give the hair a little bit of a curl at the end, just so it has a little bit of character to it and it's not just like moving it to the side, because it doesn't look natural that way. Luckily, because this is a straight piece of hair, you could probably just reflect motion. And it looks pretty good usually. I will do this, just move it a little bit, give it more character. Because I did that though, when you synthesize X and Y, it might start looking crazy. Just be aware of that. We're gonna do the squish motion now. What you don't want to do for squish, for like the Y movement, is just bring it up like that. Because hair, when it goes upwards, when it bounces, it does not just go straight upwards. Especially for curls like this, the curl will not go straight upwards. It's actually like a squish motion. So you want to keep that in mind while you are doing these, the Y movement. You can bring it upwards a little bit, but you kind of want to have more character to it. So I am going to take this huge length that I have and deform it to this side a little bit. Make it go upwards. It is a little warped, but it's okay. Same with going down. You want to at least like squish it a little bit so it looks a little bit realistic. Not even realistic, it's just that like normal animation, you have kind of smudge frames. I don't know anything about animation, by the way, I'm just assuming this, but when you see those like smudge frames, they look insane, right? The same concept kind of applies here, where sometimes your frames will look insane, but when it's in motion, it actually looks fine. I noticed with hair that has this type of this type of end to it, it always looks fucked up in this keyframe, specifically in the top left. So I always have to redo it. What you could do is just go to modeling, edit form, copy form. You can control shift C, but mine's been broken ever since I downloaded this program. So I have to go into that fucking menu and do it manually, and then just control shift V to paste it to the keyform that you want it to be. So I'm just going to do that and then just like move it upwards so it's squished upwards. All right, that looks better, right? The next thing that I'm going to do, unlink this, make a new warp deformer on top of the last deformer we just used. Hair 1.2 XY. Create. You could expand this deformer with control if you are scared of like it going out of bounds while you do this deformation. Because if the item is if the object is out of the deformer, it starts looking fucked up. Just saying, it starts looking so fucked. But I personally don't have like too much of an issue with this. I don't like expand the deformer too much. So yeah, maybe I'm just built different. I don't know. So I'm going to start moving it to the right at a lower position. So I'm going to be deforming the lower end of the hair and leaving the top mostly intact. Going to do the same thing, reflect motion, see what it looks like. Looks pretty good. I'm just going to continue on with this. probably move this a little bit more, which is going to result in the top left synthesized parameter looking fucked up as shit later on. But, you know, it's fine. We could fix it. The manual labor isn't that bad. So I'm going to squish that upwards, squish this upwards, shrink my brush a little bit, which, by the way, is hold B and then drag up and down if you want to change the size of any of your brushes, including glue. The whatever this is, what is this called? Brush selection tool and all that jazz. So, yep. I don't like using shortcuts because I don't have object permanence, so I don't remember what shortcuts are, but these are like the few that I do know, and they are the most helpful, I think. So you're gonna squish this downwards. I'll probably take that a little bit more downwards and then do a little bit more of a squish upwards here, and then synthesize the corners. I'm doing this really fast, by the way, because this is supposed to be a pretty fast process. This is effed up looking, so I'm gonna take this default left form, copy it, and then paste it, and then manually do the squish motion. So you could squish it upwards like that. You don't have to squish it like any one way or another. As long as it aligns with the squish upwards of this, it should be fine. We're going to make another deformer hair 1.3 XY. And this time we're just going to do the tip. Just the tip. Just a little bit of the tip, you know? Gonna go this way, and then I don't need to like change the deformer size for this one because this is not like an insane movement. Gonna probably, actually you could probably reflect this. Oops, that's not the right thing. Probably reflect motion here too and see how it goes. Didn't really do anything, so I'm just gonna move it a lot more. Going to go to Y, make new parameters, and then do the squish motion upwards. Just for the tip though. Go down, make the tip go down, and then link them, synthesize the corners, and then fix whatever you need to fix, which is going to be this. Going to edit the form, copy it, paste it here, and then fix it. Just going to squish it upwards because it doesn't need to go so crazy like how it did here. Awesome. So we have all that done, right? What I'm going to do, which you're probably not going to do because you have a whole model, I'm just going to not that, what the hell, right click. I'm going to select all deformers that I used plus the object, export parts, export it like this, overwrite that right in a new canvas because I was a little poo-poo doo-doo stupid head and I like deleted all the parameters in the original thing that I had, so I'm a little dumb, just saying. Import this. I'm also going to make it bigger just for example's sake. All right, so we have our hair, right? I've already actually inputted all of the parameters into the physics window, as you saw earlier, but this is a new one, so it will look a little different from the first example that I showed you, just because I rigged it slightly different. So you can see here, the Y bounce. Looks like a little sausage, a bouncy sausage. It really doesn't look like that, but I will show you the settings that I have for the parameters. I tried to keep it close to the preset for a triple pendulum hair input. Angle X is actually angle type instead of position. But I think for like practicality's sake, you could just leave it at position. For examples, I just don't like that it resets to defaults after the input, but for a model, it should go back to default, you know? So just leave that at position, honestly. Body X will be at position, which makes sense. Body Z, angle, and angle Z, angle. And this is to your own discretion. You need to play around with these numbers in order to get the look and feel that you like. I won't walk you through that because I think physics are kind of too complicated for me. I'm very stupid, so I will probably explain it wrong. I'll go over like some basics. Like duration is like basically how long it takes for your parameter, for the physics to like affect the parameter, and how long it takes for it to go back to position, right? Shaking is how much it's like very self-explanatory how much it shakes after the pendulum kind of stops. So you could see the two pendulums here, they stop moving faster than the one at the bottom because the shaking is lower than the last pendulum. So that's a little visual thing you could pay attention to. I don't know what reaction does, and then acceleration, I honestly don't even know. I just play with those numbers as much as I can. Output settings are going to be hair X only. So 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, X only. Because you are going to have X and Y parameters on two different physics groups. The effectiveness is to your discretion. I just left it at 100 for this example, but of course you are going to probably lower it a little bit depending on your model and like the scale of it. So I saw another tutorial that said like, oh, put your output scale to 100. Like, no, you do not have to do the maximum to 100. That's a little ridiculous, honestly. This is also to your taste. You could adjust the scale higher if you want the output to be more extreme. So you can see here, because if the output higher for the top part, this whole section is now swinging a lot harder. You could even, if you put it to 100, it's even like more noticeable. So I'm going to try to get it to 100. See, it's going a lot farther, but because like obviously depending on what model you're doing, if you want the subtleness to be there, this doesn't look as natural. You probably want your scale and output to be lower. And this depends on how much movement you are like throwing in. So the output will go up and down depending on that. And this is also affected by the effectiveness setting on either the input and the output, right? You could also cheat this. So like, because the effectiveness is distributed throughout these different inputs, each input will affect it less than if you just had one input at 100. You could cheat it a little bit by going to the normalization of input section right here, and then increasing the minimum and maximum for each angle or position depending on what you're doing. You could cheat a little bit there. There's just a lot of things that you could do with this. I'll show you Y angle. So angle Y and body Y are the inputs. You could honestly just put angle Y because body Y is affected by angle Y. So effectively, like even if you didn't have body Y in here, your hair will be affected by body Y because body Y is affected by angle Y. I hope that didn't like confuse anyone. So if you like move upwards, your hair will move downwards, and vice versa. You could reflect those if you want. The output setting is the same as angle as the X. I'm so tired right now. But yeah, it's basically the same concept. I don't know why reflect is done over here when it doesn't need to be. Or maybe it does need to be. It does need to be. I did that for a reason. But yeah, this is what your hair is going to look like in the end. I will really quickly go over the curled one. So this is going to have the same concept, except these are going to be in two pieces. And realistically, if you were doing this for like a commission or something, for a very high-end commission, you want to separate all of this into its own individual curl. So this large curl will be one piece. This like strand will also be a separate piece, and you will paint it in a way where it will just seamlessly like blend in with this larger piece. This curl will be probably like one piece here. What is it? Like one piece here, this round piece, and then this last curl will be an individual object, and you will have either it glued together or you will have them in different deformers and you will like just like finagle with it, right? So as you can see here, this is its own individual like movement, and this is also done individually as well on 2 different deformers. And honestly, I cannot teach how to rig like specific curls. This is the made up curl that I made, but your curl will probably look different. Just take this example. I will probably have links to these as downloads, so you could see how it moves and stuff. But yeah, it's using the same technique that I did with the longer hair piece, the straight one. It's just separated into 2 different deformers for the sake of like making the movement more like realistic, I guess. So here we go. This is what it looks like, and it also has X and Y angle like associated with it, just to show how much depth you could have with cutting them into separate pieces. The more cuts you have, obviously the more you could do with it, but make your cuts smart. You don't have to like separate the line art and the colors, and like if you feel like just experiment with it. That's what I'm trying to say. First, don't like, what am I trying to say? Do not think that you need to separate every single thing. This, I could live with the line art and the color being the same. If you are doing things like where the shadow moves depending on what area you are, then maybe that should be separated. But just test it out. If you are making a model and you are not sure if you should cut or not cut apart, based on like the rigging that you're going to be doing, just take that separate part, make a new PSD, and then like have all that separated and try rigging it before you like finalize it in the actual PSD. And then when you get to that part when you're rigging it, it goes all insane, right? So just do a lot of testing. But yeah, this was my hair tutorial. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, just feel free to leave it in the comments, or I also have like my mentions open on Twitter, which is miyunyas at Twitter, and also my Twitch stream. Sometimes, very occasionally, I will start streaming rigging or drawing or games. If you see me rigging, you can ask any questions there, and I will be free to answer it if you have any questions. But also, I'm very chaotic. Like, I have a very chaotic rigging style. I don't like follow rules to the T, and I always do things weirdly. I find ways around certain things, so I might not give the best advice or like have the best habits, but it works, and that's all that matters, right? It works. So like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed my tutorials, and I'll try to have more tutorials in the future. I just don't know when. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day. Bye!